At 5:30 a.m., that river gauge was at 23 feet. It is approaching 26 feet.
Each of these areas well over 4 inches of rain in the past 24 hours.
As I say, the only way to get through town today was by boat.
This is totally amazing. I am just in awe of the whole thing.
These rivers are going to do what they're going to do, and we're not going to get in their way.
We have people here who showed up last night to start filling sandbags.
It's just an amazing thing to see as the wild winter of '96 continues.
The winter of 1996 has certainly been a memorable one for the people of Woodland, Washington, and in dozens of communities throughout the Northwest. Some of those memories have been painful. It started with a snowstorm back in January. That was followed by the bitter cold and then the ice. And just when we thought things couldn't get any worse, they did.
The Nehalem River in the north part of Tillamook County, as we left the county 11.5 feet above flood stage, 11.5 feet over its banks. And the roads in that place just absolutely terrible. Couldn't take 26, couldn't take 6, couldn't take 22, just kept having to come south.
We are looking down at some container yards right now, some of the containers underwater. In fact, you can see right down there, Carl, if you can move down, that is a truck. Now move off to the side, the other side if you can, Carl. Right there is a truck trying to make its way through a flooded roadway. Yeah, you've hit it on the head there, Carl. That truck is inching its way through. It looks like to me the water is up to the tops of the tires there. And as you know, on a semi-truck, the tires are a good 3-4 feet tall. So that truck is attempting right now to move through 3 or 4 feet of water over here in the Portland shipyards.
Here in the Willamette, it's above flood stage right now, and what happened was it broke loose 7 or 9 log rafts. Now, what that means to people who are not familiar with what is involved in a log raft, we're talking about between 700 and 800 log trucks worth of logs floating down the Willamette, just barreling down out of control. Now, that was happening earlier today. All of these tugboats have been able to corral these logs. There are some that are further up north down the river. They had to open all of the drawbridges because they were concerned that some of these log rafts, log bundles might crash into some of the supports of the bridges, and they didn't want any cars on those bridges at the time when that happened. There's probably about $1 million worth of logs that kind of loosed and set loose down the Willamette today.
Rescuers tried to shoot a line across perhaps 50 yards or so of space to this bus to try and get them and some other fire rescue personnel that were also stranded on the bus. That was unsuccessful. They waited until first light and then tried to use a boat to go and get this family off of the bus. That happened just a little bit ago. Then, I'm told just moments ago, the 3 fire rescue personnel who were stranded there earlier were taken off of that bus by a Coast Guard helicopter that had come out of Newport in order to finish the rescue. This was, according to Lieutenant Feller from the Marion County Sheriff's Office, the largest rescue effort he has ever seen.
These should normally be streets, not rivers, not canals, but streets. The entire town, the entire main residential core of Woodland, Washington is underwater today because of the high waters on the Lewis River. Take a look. The pictures speak much louder than my words ever could to the degree of problems that the people here are having. Not too far from here, they are sandbagging, a furious sandbagging effort, by far the biggest we've seen, but apparently for most of these people, it is far too little and far too late. A car there submerged, partially submerged underwater. There, an entire neighborhood, what looks like it would normally be a cul-de-sac, is now just a circle of water, basically.
It's breaking through my front door, and I'm in 2 foot of water to have to drive out of my driveway. We're right above the driveway right here into the house, and there's about a 4-foot drop into this house. This is the master bedroom here, this first window. And this second one is the bathroom and the back door, and then into the kitchen. And it's been up, as you see, it's been up within, a little over a foot from the eave. So it wasn't a fun trip. We almost couldn't get out of here. We're in about Oh, 4-foot drop here, 4-foot hole. This is my pickup.
How many feet of water you got in here?
Right here, that must be about, that's probably around 5 feet maybe, something like just under 5 feet. This rig was setting plumb sideways, parallel with the street. This was pretty scary. I mean, like I said, me and Wendy got out of here with just our clothes on her back and her 2 dogs and the pickup.
This is the bathroom down here in the basement of Gene Harvey's condominium. This is his flooded condominium. Last night they got smart. They decided to move all their stuff up out of the basement. They were able to do that before the floodwaters came. And as you can see over here, take a look at this. This is about as close of a glass bottom view of the Columbia River as you're going to get. This is the Columbia River. It is up this high, and it is expected to come up a little higher. You can see the incredible, just take a look out here real quick for a second. You can see how high it has come up. It's hard to think right now because we got down here and my waders are filling up with water right now. I weigh about 400 pounds, I think.
This is Battle Creek in southeast Salem. For the past 2 days, it has been waging war against this neighborhood here. We're standing on Packwood Court. And actually, believe it or not, the water level is actually down from the way it was. Kids are now able to come out into the middle of Packwood Court and play and bring their inner tubes, but this is no game for the homeowners here. You can see over here, the guy that owns this house has sandbagged it all the way up to about 2.5 feet in an effort to keep the water from getting into his garage. We walk over a bit more this way, and he has put a plywood barrier to do the same thing to try and keep the water out. We'll go over and talk to him here because he's continuing to work on it here. How's the battle going today?
It's going better than it was yesterday anyway.
What kind of damage have you had in the house?
The house hasn't been too bad, but all the sill plates and stuff are broken in the garage and it leaks, and it washed my deck away in the back, so most of that and all the contents in the garage.
It was a beautiful day on the Pacific coast, but the pictures tell a dark tale. Muddy floodwaters swallowing up land, dairy cows, and homes. Nehalem, Wheeler, and Tillamook were all hit hard. This is the Nehalem River in the middle, but as we widen out, you can see it looks more like a huge lake. The U.S. Coast Guard lifted Tillamook County Sheriff Bill Hudgen through the county to survey the damage. More than 24,000 dairy cows are in the coastal area, and it's believed more than 1,000 have died.
Well, I've lived here in Tillamook County for 53 years, and this is the worst I've seen, and we've definitely got a lot of damage, and our farmers have really sustained a lot of loss with their livestock.
Even restaurants, businesses, and a grocery store in Tillamook were surrounded by water. The Coast Guard was also nice enough to let us ride along to see them in action. They're always on the lookout for someone in need. It's times like these where everyone comes together. Sheriff Hudgen says the morale is good in Tillamook County.
They're kind of unique and they're in their way, and we're going to pull through this okay.
This is what is happening. You can see these volunteers, maybe these co-workers, literally lining up the sandbags in the basement floor. They are protecting electrical equipment down inside of the basement of OMSI. It is a line, as you will can clearly see, all the way upstairs, outside this door, coming inside now to protect this valuable and important and sometimes dangerous equipment. It is electrical equipment that carries a power base for this building.
We're cruising south on Washington Street in downtown Oregon City right now. Marco, what do you see here exactly?
Lots of water.
Now, you own a business just up here.
Yes, I do.
And how's it looking?
About 6 feet underwater right at this time.
Have you seen it before, or any time before like this?
In '64, I was 14, and I went through it once before. The water doesn't look as high, but it's still devastating.
Just behind me here is a gentleman who owns the Coney Island, the tavern there, the Orange Tavern on the right. What do we have here, sir, exactly?
Well, it's about 6.5 to 7 foot underwater, and it's a mess. I can tell you, I'm sick.
I see right now the traffic lights are not working. They were working earlier.
Yeah, they were. Traffic lights were working earlier. The lights in my building were on this morning at 11 too.
What is this business, gentlemen, we're seeing right here on the right?
Detail shop.
On the right's a detail shop?
What is this business over here, Tim? What is this we have over here on the right?
That's a furniture store, and you got Trails Inn Pizza and a dress shop.
And we got a grocery store, the shop and save over there, huh? What does that look inside there?
They got it empty, but it's full of water. It's what they left is floating.
Does this fellow in the pickup need sandbags right here?
This is the current crisis neighborhood in Tualatin, Apache Bluffs. We're on Cheyenne Way right now, where many of the homes are halfway underwater. The people right now frantically trying to save what's left. In order to do that, they are using boats, canoes, even a little red wagon to transport 50-pound sandbags.
We're pretty scared. We don't want our neighbors to lose their houses or anything in them. So we're trying real hard to just get it taken care of.
One home is already lost.
And a big 8-foot section came down. Their house is flooded now.
Those next to it remain borderline.
My heart's pounding. This is something I've never been through, and it's frightening.
With a 1% chance of a 100-year flood in this area, Phil Cook decided not to buy flood insurance.
We might make it.
We're behind Oaks Park now, and what you see behind me is a row of houseboats, and the only way people are getting around here is by boat. You see this young man here coming and bringing us a boat. Hopefully they'll be able to take us over to those houses, and we'll see what the concerns are of the people living here. The piers right now are floating above what is normally their shoreline, and I'm sure these people are having to take measures to make sure that their boats survive the flood of 1996.
At the east end of Lake Oswego, a spectacular waterfall cascades over the dam and down a 40-foot embankment. It is an awesome display of power that looks more like the Niagara Falls than Lake Oswego, Oregon. The situation here is out of control. The lake normally drains here in a peaceful manner, but now so much water is coming in, it is spilling right over the top of the dam and to the sides. It is undercutting the ground this gas tank sits on. There are 400 gallons of gasoline inside. The water is also flooding an entire apartment complex next door.
It's just frightening, interesting, exciting, but mostly frightening.
Downtown, the water has flooded the Lake Theater and several other buildings. In the middle of State Street, you can see what happened. Lake Oswego simply flowed over the walls and right into downtown, and now it is at least knee-deep for about a 2-block area. The mayor says 4 times as much water is flowing into the lake than can be dumped. And across the lake, you can see evidence of it. Homes have water piling up to the windows. The view is similar inside a home on the canal feeding the lake. And under one of the bridges, the remains of a boat, a dock, and a boathouse. There is simply too much water pouring in here for anyone to control.
And we are moving in now to that Salmon Street Springs area, and you can see the amphitheater, no place that you would...
From Sky 8, you see the underwater amphitheater at Salmon Street Springs. The aerial view hides the frenetic activity to save Waterfront Park in the bottom of downtown.
I believe that is Oaks Park down below us now. And as any of you know who have been...
Another popular outdoor spot is also submerged. The rides at Oaks Park near the Selwood Bridge look like umbrellas floating downstream.
Those are the McCormick Pier apartments. Shannon Brinney has brought us a report from there. As you can see,
in northwest Portland, the Willamette is infringing dangerously on the McCormick Pier apartments. That blue square down there is a gazebo. No picnics today. At condominiums on southwest Portland's Sam Jackson Parkway, the danger didn't come from floodwaters, but slides. Pounding rain loosened the hillside. It came crashing down into the back of the buildings.
There it is, about square in the middle of your screen. Our photographer, Carl Peterson, zooming into it right now.
The hillside also slid onto Interstate 5 southbound, just shy of the Terwilliger curves.
This hillside, it is still coming down. We are here, Interstate 5, believe it or not, that is the northbound lane. We are just north of Woodland. I don't know if you can hear or not. This hillside is still coming down. It has covered all lanes here. We are told, and it is unofficial at this point, but we do believe that there may be at least one, if not more, possibly 2 cars up under that pile. One car that is left here man who got out of that car, he told authorities that he believed at least 2 vehicles still up under that pile.
I heard something. I couldn't figure out what I heard, and then I went and looked out the back window because I heard this noise, and then I could see it coming.
But she would then have to watch her animals fight their own battle. This mare, belly high in mud, would struggle until Carol's 70-year-old husband Hirsch braved knee-high mud and rocks to save her and another horse. Then it was on to his home. He'd break through a picture window to save the family dog.
Wife heard it. She went into the kitchen, she could see it coming. And then I saw it and I said, let's get the hell out of here. Oh, you gotta call them like you see them. That's the way you do it.
We're happy to report tonight all are doing well, including Pooch.
We'll return to the Great Flood of '96 right after this.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Carol Jensen. A little more than a week ago, this riverfront was lined with volunteers, everybody pitching in an effort to help minimize the damage from the Great Flood of 1996. And their efforts did not go unnoticed.
I hope you will never forget this wall behind me, and goodness knows I hope you never need it again. But I hope you will always remember for as long as you live what the people of Portland did in one remarkable day. And I hope that all of us will find in our minds and hearts the wisdom and strength to be a little more like the people of Portland were on that one day, every day of the year.
It touches your heart when you see the number of people down here that are helping out. They're either hammering, shoveling, digging ditches, or feeding the people who are working. It's very impressive. And I know the people from the city that I've talked to have been just as touched in their heart and just as impressed with the effort down here.
People helping people. How often we say it, rarely, however, do we get a chance to see it in action.
I've lived here almost all my life, and I've not seen this, and I thought it was going to happen to somebody else.
Today, much of the town of Woodland came together filling sandbags. This is tiring work to be sure, but for most, the decision to be here was an easy one.
I'm from Vancouver. This is where the problem was today, so we thought we'd come up and help for a while.
Everybody's pitching in. Our houses are out there in the bottoms where it's going to go, and if that goes, then town might go. The rest of town, anyway.
Some, however, had their decision made for them.
Well, I had the day off, and my wife told me to get off the couch and come help.
Are you doing a good job? Good, that a boy. Not sure why I was bothering him. His mood swung when he realized he'd soon be a TV star. Many of these residents never imagined they'd see what awaited them early this morning. Certainly everyone impacted here along the swollen Lewis River, but probably the best illustration we have, the Rainey's house here. Down below they have roller skates and gym shoes, but if you look at the floor level, that's what their party room looks like. To the left of that, a 3-car garage completely submerged. I'm happy to tell you those folks did have insurance for their home and their VW bus. And not to be forgotten in all of this, the animals, who were kind enough to give these people a lift. What friendly dogs.
The relief efforts down here, the sandbagging just keeps on continuing. You can see folks down here, and they've said, they've had volunteers just come in off the boardwalk here just wanting to offer to help, and they've pitched right in. And so this is the kind of spirit that we're seeing all over Portland, folks just lending a hand for their neighbors in need.
This is only the beginning of the big show. The river is expected to rise another 4 feet by tomorrow morning. As you just mentioned, volunteers from Portland have been diverted over here to Vancouver. In fact, these are the volunteers you see behind me here, and they're working to build a big wall of sandbags here to protect the city of Vancouver. They've been working all night long, and they have built a very impressive wall, I must say. Over across the river, over across the Columbia River on Hayden Island, it's somewhat of a different story. Most of the preparations have already been made, and now what people have to do is just wait to see how bad it'll be.
Late Friday, they sandbagged along Lake Oswego Canal. Several hours later, the work continues into the night. Volunteers have built a 4-foot wall to hold back canal water at the Chilberg home on Keylock Road, but they know the odds are long.
Well, the water still keeps coming. We got a pump inside in the basement and one out here. And the water keeps rising.
All day long, friends and strangers have carried sandbags here and at an untold number of homes around this area.
We have a lot to be thankful for, even though, you know, we're probably going to lose a few things in our house. But, you know, the friendship and the support of people is more important than anything else.
Not far away on Pioneer Court, a string of volunteers haul sandbags to save the home of Kim Gruder's ex-husband, who's out of town. She's amazed at the change in the little canal that now fills the bottom of this home.
It's undescribable. The smell, the way it looks, the destruction, the sound of it. The sound is so frightening.
Despite the best efforts of a lot of sandbaggers, it's not always effective. Take a look at what's going on at this house. The water is coming right up to the door, right up to the middle of the bottom half of the door. And we'll pan over and show you what's going on in the living room. You can see the water right through the front window here. And this is a house that's built on a hill beside the canal leading into Lake Oswego. Further up the canal at the first bridge, this is Bryant Street. The surging waters are expected to cover the bridge by midnight. At the last bridge before Lake Oswego, the National Guard passes through with another load of sand. And below the bridge, a glimpse of destruction, a boat and dock pinned against the bridge by the churning waters.
Right down here we have city crews that are blocking off access to Front Avenue because, of course, that's where the most concentrated relief efforts are going on, the sandbagging and barricading, getting the barricades up down at the seawall. And right now you can see some of the sandbag action that we have here. Now, these are heavy things, and they will most likely keep some water out. How much is anyone's guess? Right now, joining me is Todd Sparks with Futon Gallery. Can you tell me, are you pretty confident of your precautions here?
Yeah, we've done everything we can do. We put the sandbags around the perimeter of the building, put all the furniture as high up as we can. We took everything out of our basement that we could, and we're hoping for the best.
A crane had him down in a harness, and he's trying to cut loose that barge that holds the sternwater Portland there as a kind of a loading dock. He was just hanging there using the hydraulic equipment trying to loosen that barge up, and eventually they did, and they moved it away from the seawall. We're also going to show you some people that are still sandbagging down here, and they're working real hard, and actually they had a few smiles on their faces as they were doing it. This is down near the Burnside Bridge, and they were getting more sandbags up to kind of a different structure that we haven't seen before, a higher structure that was built down there to kind of hold the water back. And we do know that I told you before about that drain that is basically overflowing now. That's a drain down there near the Burnside Bridge where water goes in and it basically drains into the Willamette River. Unfortunately, now the river is much higher and that water is coming back up, and they've put some sandbags around that to try to keep that from getting any higher. That's basically the only place where the river is actually coming into Waterfront Park right now. We're going to show you that gauge now on the Morrison Bridge. It shows you how high things are. It's above the 6 now. It's above 26 feet.
This hay is heading for a herd in trouble. This Chinook CH-47 is here to help.
Okay, that's good.
The problem, the Columbia rose so high so fast. Now there's no way to truck in hay to Pete Giordano's stranded cows.
I've been there since 1983, and this is the first time I've seen anything like this.
Here in 321 traffic, 1 o'clock, 4 miles northbound, proceed direct to Government Island.
That's where the Army National Guard comes in, where the hay can't go in on the ground. The E Company 168th Aviation from Pendleton will take it there by air.
We have some cattle right ahead of us. Okay, here you go. Jimmy, okay, here we go.
First drop's too low. They move higher to help split apart the bales and spread the hay.
Okay, I see the cattle. They're over at that too. Let's go.
The adrenaline is a big rush, and helping out the community is the #1 thing, you know.
Seen from the air, Giordano's herd seems better off than he thought, and now healthier, thanks to the Army Guard.
Yeah, they've been very helpful, and they're really saving our lives.
We're getting good at the disaster. We just transferred up from California, so we've done the floods, fires, riots, earthquakes. We're getting good at this stuff.
What if I can't? What if they're all too heavy for me? You got that one all right? Yep.
Oh. We realized that we were going to get water. It was coming up through the ground and coming in the walls, and we went, holy cow. So currently we have sandbags on both sides of this wall. So these are the girls from Vancouver volunteering to come and help us get rid of them. One more in here, and then I'm ready to rock and roll here. Words can't express how grateful I am. It's great.
It makes you feel good about yourself. I'm a peer helper at Mountain View too, and I like to help people. And this is kind of the way I can do it. The flood didn't really affect my house in Vancouver, so, you know, I still wanted to help other people that it affected, so this is the way I could do it. It makes me feel good about myself.
It makes me feel good that everybody's willing to help one another and not be real selfish. And we all understand that we all need each other's help. And I'm glad that the community's decided to help each other out.
Oh, they're angels. They're just angels from God.
The spirit of volunteering did not stop with the floods. Many that helped to keep the waters out also showed up to help the victims of the flooding. Jim Benneman will show us that when we continue.
We'll return to the Great Flood of '96 right after this.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jim Benneman reporting from Oregon City. Here's an example of the work that's going on to clean up after the great floods of '96. This is just an example of the backbreaking work that's going to be done to clean up all the mess that was left behind by those floodwaters. And this kind of work could be going on for months.
These were our steps. I mean, you could, you know, if our staircase went right out here, and they just disappeared.
The Lewis River is a thief and a vandal. She stole her neighbor's clothes and hung them from the trees. What the Lewis couldn't carry with her, she destroyed with mud and water.
The water just kept coming up, and we had maybe 2 hours from the time I got out of bed and looked out the window and said we'd better start doing something. There was no warning.
Larry Rainey and his family got out when the water was waist high. After they left, the high water mark hit over his head on the first floor.
It was just a massive cleanup job. And the main thing was to get the water systems and the septic systems back online. So that's been our focus right now. We're water testing now. We should have the results back by tomorrow.
Gary McDonald owns the mobile home park south of Woodland. The river swamped the whole park, 77 homes, most with 2 to 3 feet of water.
The majority of these folks, they're retired, and they're supposed to be done with this type of things going on in their life, having to get flooded out and start over in life.
It's a second flood, a flood of volunteers this time, all racing to rip the soggy guts out of the trailers and then even cut open vents to let the dry breeze air them out. At least those folks have something to salvage of their homes. Not true here. The Lewis River tore this house off the foundation and almost sucked it down the river. Somehow Gary and Joan Scott cleared the furniture out of the house before the river twisted and pulled it, timber from timber. The house barely 2 years old.
Not much you can do about it, you know. It's just the way things happen sometimes.
Penny Petty is going back into her flood-damaged basement. There's not a lot to see downstairs except water that is still at least 3 to 4 feet deep. That's the Clackamas River outside near the place where it flows into the Willamette.
I see a lot of hard work down the drain and a lot of hard work ahead of us, so it'll work out.
Water covered not only the basement, but also Penny's living room upstairs. There is mud on the floors, the carpet is soaked, and in the bathroom a drawer moved by floodwaters rests on the toilet. Next door, Penny's neighbors are moving their dresser back downstairs. Jen and Marv Morrison cleared out their lower floor, but were not flooded. Still, it is a terrifying experience.
I honestly can say with the rage of the river, and it was just overwhelming how quickly, and the feeling you have of helplessness when you see the water coming up and not a thing you can do about it but pray.
The floodwaters still cause problems in some areas. This is the dike on the Columbia near Portland's airport. High water and waves are washing away the dirt. The Columbia continues to damage the Red Lion Hotel here. It is the one on the left of I-5 as you drive to Seattle. A few feet of water fill the lower ballroom. And just take a look at the Robinwood Public Boat Dock at West Lynn, twisted and turned by the high water. Back at Penny Petty's home, husband Tom worries not about those problems, but about the ones in his own home, and he grabs a bucket to help with the cleanup. Penny thinks about the job ahead.
He'll clean up. I have great faith.
From the air, Vernonia does not look flood-scarred, but last Friday, the rampaging Nehalem River covered much of the town. The mayor estimates 60% of the homes and businesses were underwater. That's Vernonia High School, under several feet of water at the river's peak. The ugly signs of massive flooding are everywhere. Let's take you now to the ground where Vernonians are assessing the damage.
Shy of 5 feet.
That's how high the water was in the school's wood shop, where it looks less like a flood and more like a tornado ripped through. The water tossed aside shelves, equipment, desks. The Nehalem was 2 shelves high in the library. It warped a new basketball floor. You can see how high the river rose on the mud-covered tennis courts outside.
Right about here, about 6.5, 7 feet in the garage.
Jack Greenwood lives on the only newly developed street in town, jokingly called Vernonia's Street of Dreams, now a street of nightmares, where people dig out from the worst of the Nehalem's flooding.
So we lost TV, sofa, end tables, recliners, everything. Dinette sets, all the appliances are shot, the furnace is shot.
St. Mary's Church is now a shelter where hundreds of people sleep, eat, and live. Chris Francis and Vera Hamilton were to be married tomorrow. Now all their life's plans are on hold.
God has an odd way of testing people, but it makes them stronger. That's what comes out of it.
In Vernonia, there is a monument to the high water. In the middle of town, a mountain of personal possessions ruined by the flood. And the monument grows, a patchwork testament to the flood of '96.
The tables have turned in Tualatin. Man and machine are now in control. The water's damage is being fixed.
Lights will be on, everything will be working. So that's what we want. We work your way right out over to here.
Oh, good. Officer Kevin Winfield guides traffic until all lights are on and roads open, which could be tonight.
People need to understand that there is going to be congestion, and with congestion, people are going to be become frustrated.
This whole railing right here was covered in water.
But frustration is dulled when residents recall what it was like 48 hours ago. Chris Wood says business at Izzy's Pizza is getting back to normal.
Right now, we are open. There is some limited traffic into the square here, and we just hope the business picks up.
Business will pick up when all the customers aren't so busy themselves picking up. Among the garbage left behind along Nyberg Creek, about a truckload of wood swept away from Clark's Lumber.
The lumber yard's up here about 3 blocks.
Is it pretty good shape?
Seems to be.
Lisa Southard also rushed down to the creek to recover belongings. She was alerted some of these papers had her name on them.
I'm looking for any canceled checks or important papers that we have to have that we can't replace.
Residents of Tualatin never know what garbage or what gifts the floodwaters left behind.
Welcome to my house. What's left of my house. You can see what my refrigerator looks like. Was a refrigerator.
The Gibbs lost everything on the first floor. The flood soaked the walls, submerged the appliances, even the piano. It's been in the family for 80 years. Gibbs found it floating in the floodwater.
That's heavy. I mean, it takes probably 8 guys to pick that thing up, to move it.
The Gibbs had to decide quickly what they couldn't bear to leave behind.
Photo albums, you know. We have a brand new grandbaby that's 6 months old that, you know, she's our precious, so that's what we know. All we wanted was her pictures, actually, because, you know, you don't see those memories anymore.
Cleanup. Danny Gibbs doesn't know where to begin.
Unreal.
And he's afraid to clean up before insurance adjusters see what he's lost.
I don't know what to do. Every time I come in here, I just want to cry. I don't know. But we will pull out of this. We'll make it. It might take us a while, but we'll do just fine.
Never has Lake Oswego sounded so ugly. But even in the hardest hit homes, there are some heartwarming exceptions. Like the grand piano someone lifted onto bricks. 1 foot made all the difference. The floodwaters reached right here, and the piano is fine. Better yet, there's the sweet music of human kindness.
You got it.
People helping people. Many of the flood victims don't even know who is helping them. Volunteers like these men are simply showing up and pitching in and then disappearing just as quickly. One flood victim we talked to probably speaks for thousands tonight when he sends this message.
Whoever you are, thank you very, very much.
Along with the gratitude comes valuable advice, especially about the backbreaking job of removing carpet.
Take a knife, cut your carpet up into small sections, rollable sections that you can carry, and then get them out of the house.
Do it as quickly as you can, or moisture will damage whatever's beneath the carpet.
The board just comes apart. It's turned into, essentially, back into a material almost like a toilet paper.
Jerry Wambaugh says there's another reason to get rid of it right away. He can smell sewage.
I mean, there's a tremendous amount of bacteria in this house.
And Jerry's wife, Jan, wants the carpet gone quickly for yet another reason. Her kids' spirits.
I'd rather have them look at bare floors with tacks in it and think that, oh, we're just getting new carpeting, instead of seeing wet, soaked, yucky, muddy water.
So Lake Oswego is wasting no time, removing sandbags, tearing out carpet, cleaning up debris.
Everyone wants to just get in and gut it and get it done.
The waters here along the Willamette have receded, but it will be months, if not years, before our community completely recovers.
This makeshift seawall a temporary reminder of what was and what could have been.
But for most of us, the images from the Great Flood of '96 will remain etched in our memories for a lifetime. Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone.